Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, The Navy Nurse. For those of you just watching my videos, my name is Lieutenant Rojas. I am an active duty Navy nurse and I am stationed at Naval Hospital Okinawa and work in the intensive care unit here. This episode, I'm going to be talking about differences, pros and cons regarding joining active duty Navy or reserves Navy. There are some pretty significant differences and pros and cons with each, and I'd like to just share those with you. I know many of you have either emailed me or messaged me through Instagram or Facebook, and you guys are thinking about joining, but you're like, I don't know if I want to go all the way and do full-time, or if I just want to get my feet wet and see what it's like in the reserves. I'm not sure. I want to give you more of an idea of what each entails so that you can make a more informed decision. So the first thing, the reserves. Okay, so some people say part-time for reserves. Part-time, yeah, you can say that, meaning that you're not all the time. You're not working as active duty all the time. So, for example, part-time reserves, you would be doing 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks of annual training a year. Usually for your weekend a month, you'll either be like in an office doing administrative stuff. I don't really see Navy nurses working at a hospital, like a naval hospital or a clinic for their 1 weekend a month. Usually you'll be in an office doing paperwork type, admin type of work. And then for your 2 weeks of annual training, that's when you actually go to a Navy hospital to work. So as an active duty nurse, you're full-time, you're working a normal schedule. Like, for example, I work in the ICU and I work 12-hour shifts. So that's my life. I'm always working on and off AM or PM shifts, and that's what I do. I never have like come in only 1 weekend a month. So that's the difference on how you would be working. The other thing that's different is relocating where you live. So reserves, you do not have to relocate every couple of years. You live wherever you live. So for example, if you live in Phoenix, Arizona, and you work there in Phoenix, Arizona, then that's your job, right? That's like your full-time job, and you stay there indefinitely until you want to move. And then when you train, you pick a reserve station that is near you, and then that's where your 1 weekend a month is going to be. So the pro with that is that your family doesn't have to move if you're married. So for example, your spouse has a job, right? Your spouse doesn't have to pick up and try to find a job wherever you go. So that's a really big benefit to joining the reserves. Your kids, they don't have to pick up and move schools every so often. So your family can stay put and build themselves wherever they're at. The con is if you like moving every couple of years, then you would be doing that out of your own pocket. The Navy wouldn't just pay for you to move somewhere because you're in the reserves. Full duty, active duty, you are going to be moving pretty regularly. I'd say on average it's about every 3 years. And if you think about that, especially if you have a family, you're moving your entire lives somewhere every 3 years. Now, I will say that if you want to stay in a geographical area, some of the big places where people tend to do that are San Diego, California, and Portsmouth, Virginia. The reason they're able to stay generally in the same area is because there's a lot of different duty stations there. So they can go from a hospital to a ship to a clinic and stay in the general area. Does it always happen? No, but there is a chance that that can happen if you're trying to stay in the same area. Another thing that's different is pay, right? So if you're active duty, you're getting paid all the time. So your pay scale, you're getting that all the time, whether you're off or whether you're actually working. You also get benefits like housing allowance, and if you're overseas, you get comrades that help you to pay for meals. You can get COLA if you're overseas, that can help offset the different costs that come with living overseas. So you do get those types of pay differences. While you're in the reserves, you're getting paid your normal civilian job wage, and then you only get paid from the military when you're actually drilling that 1 week in a month, if you are doing any training, and if you're deployed. So that's the only times that you would be getting paid. Let's talk about healthcare. So healthcare, full-time, you will get TRICARE Prime. So active duty get TRICARE Prime, and that's basically you're getting your care through the military by military doctors, nurses, corpsmen. Unless you're in a remote area where there are no military, like Navy medicine services, then TRICARE will pay for you to go to a civilian hospital or clinic that is covered by TRICARE. When you're in the reserves, it's a different type of healthcare. So you can get your own healthcare because you won't be able to get TRICARE Prime unless you're actively drilling. And then also, like if you're actively drilling, you could be seen for sick call, like at your particular clinic, because you're technically on the Navy's time at that time. Okay, another thing that's different, deployments. Okay, deployments, honestly, I see reservists get deployed more within the last years, but it's because they've actually asked to deploy too. So if you're a reservist, you can volunteer for deployments. Active duty, we volunteer for deployments as well, but we have a much bigger pool of people that, in my experience, I've seen less people get deployed as active duty. Reservists tend to get deployed a lot, especially within the past years, because they've volunteered to do it. But don't discount that. Like it can be the same in reserves and active duty. You can either get deployed or you won't get deployed. Sometimes you volunteer for it, you get the deployment. Sometimes you don't volunteer for it and you don't get the deployment. On the flip side, sometimes you volunteer for it and you don't get it as well. So it is really up to the needs of the Navy, your skill set, what qualifications and certifications you have. So just know, bottom line, whether you're reserves or active duty, you could get deployed. Let's see, promotions. Okay, so promotion, you have to do the same things whether you're in the reserves or whether you're active duty in order to make rank. So you have to be doing your job, right? You're a nurse corps officer, you have to do your job well, but you're also an officer. So you have to take on leadership positions, maybe teach some classes like BLS, ACLS, or PALS, or take on an administrative leadership position like a division officer or a department head. You have to show that you're leading in some type of way. Also, training, certifications, those things will increase your likelihood of continuing to increase your rank while you're reserves or active duty. Let's talk about promotions. You obviously want to make rank because you want to get more money, right? And also you want to get more leadership experience. I don't know about you, but I joined the military partly because I want to be a leader. I want to influence people in a good way. I want to mentor people. So the more you make rank, the more chance you have to do that, right? All right, so promoting. You have to be a nurse, right? That's your job. You have to do it well, learn your job, get certifications, start teaching. I always advocate for teaching either BLS, ACLS, PALS, trauma, nurse corps training, anything that you're interested in, because when you teach, you learn it better, right? You're teaching other people, so you're learning the skills, you're learning the concepts, and you're also mentoring someone. So make sure that you know your job. The other thing is you're an officer, so you have to take some type of leadership position, be that a division officer, you're a department head, you're an instructor, some type of leadership position where you're managing people or programs or money. So all those things look good on a fitness report. Whether you're in the reserves or you're active duty, you do minimal annual fit reps, and on those fit reps you write down everything that you have done for that year, and then that's how you promote. So same way in the reserves and active duty. Other things that are different, let's see, retirement. Okay, so retirement is based on years in service, right? So if you're active duty and you do 20 years, you're eligible for retirement. I will say there are blended retirement programs where people are able to get out earlier, but when you're thinking about like your normal retirement, it's 20 years. When you're in the reserves, obviously you're not in the reserves all the time. So if you're a reservist for, let's say, 5 years, that 5 years is not going to equate to someone who is active duty for 5 years, because as a reservist, you only drilled 1 weekend a year and did 2 weeks of annual training or work a year. So reservist retirement are based on a point system, and that point system is based on how much time, how many hours you drilled and you trained. So it will take a little bit longer for you to be eligible to retire if you are in the reserves. Another thing that's different is travel. A lot of people join the military because one of the perks is travel, right? If you're active duty, you definitely will travel because you're going to be moving around, and you have a choice every time you're up for orders to pick an overseas billet. You won't always get what you want, but you have that opportunity. The other thing is it gives you an opportunity to live overseas if you do get that overseas billet. And then when you're overseas, then wherever you're living, like for example, I'm in Okinawa, I'm able to travel really all around Asia. Well, not right now because of all the COVID things that are happening, but you know what I mean. So that's a huge incentive travel. When you're a reservist, you also get opportunities to travel. When you do your 2 weeks of annual training, you are able to pick, okay, I want to do my 2 weeks in Japan, or I want to go to the hospital in Italy or Rota, Spain. It just depends on your unit, the money that they allocate for those 2 weeks of annual training, and what they're able to do per that unit based on the unit where you're assigned to. So other things with travel, reserve, or fit rep, you'll have in a card, right? A military ID card. And with that, you can use that. You sometimes get discounts, military discounts for travel related things. We have MWR offices, or Marine Welfare and or Morale Welfare and Recreation Service offices, where they have travel agents that can help you and get discounted prices on travel packages. So those things are also available to you if you're interested in travel. So the other things that I would suggest to are training opportunities. So whether you are active duty or reserve, you have opportunities for cool training that frankly a lot of times you just don't get as a civilian nurse. So for example, let's say you like trauma or combat and you want to learn that type of nursing care. There's courses that are offered, such as trauma nurse care course. We have C4, which stands for combat casualty care course. We also have a joint en route care course, where you can learn how to take care of a patient in transit. If you're interested in working with sexually assaulted victims, we have the SAMFI course, that is the Sexual Assault Medical Forensic Examiner course. So you can have all of these things in your bag of tricks, I like to call, right? You learn how to treat different patients different ways in different settings. So that's cool opportunities. I would suggest if you have that opportunity, take it. Learn as much as you can, because you never know when there's a deployment that is up for grabs, and you might have that training or certification, and they can pick you. And it's not always like a deployment to a wartime area. It could be humanitarian type of deployments. Another difference is time off, right? So if you are active duty, you have to request leave. You do get holidays and those types of things and weekends, depending on where you work off. So if you work in a clinic, you pretty much get all the weekends off and the holidays off. And if you work inpatient or shift type of work, then you have to work some weekends, and the holidays you generally get paid back. So you might not get the actual holiday off, but you'll get that day off somewhere in your schedule. When you want to take your own personal time off, then you have to request leave, and you have to request that through your chain of command. When you are a reservist, you do not have to do that. You say the weekend you want to drill, that's the weekend that you do it, and the rest of the time is your time. If you're working at a normal civilian hospital, then you request leave per that institution's guidelines. So that's a difference. You don't need to request leave through the military if you're a reservist. You just work your schedule around your drill periods and your annual training. The last thing I would like to say is, whether you join the reserves or the active duty, they are both excellent opportunities. I hope that you research them both and pick whatever one is best for you and your family. With that, I hope that all of you are safe, that you're healthy, and I will see you all in the next video.